Live Saturday, September 9th. Classic Championship Wrestling, Valor Pro Wrestling, Seven Mountains Wrestling, and Pennsylvania Championship Wrestling Alliance United presents Battle at the Bridge at the old Bishop McDivitt High School, 2200 Market Street, Harrisburg, Pennsylvania. With special guests Enzo, Marty Skrull, Flip Gordon. Front row is already completely sold out. Second row is $20. General admission just $10. Meet and greet is at 5 p.m. Bell time is 6 p.m. For tickets, 717-379-4599 or 570-933-0370. You can also pick them up at the bridge at 2200 Market Street, Harrisburg, Pennsylvania. You don't want to miss the hottest territory in Pennsylvania, United!
Welcome, everybody, to 3 Beards of Wrestling Podcast. We are back. I'm your host, Shane. Below me now is your second host, Adrian.
Yes, we are back.
I hear that we may have another host.
You know, there was something going on around the rumor mill that there's a guy who might be coming in. And it's kind of funny because there's a picture of you kicking this guy in the face. It's crazy.
There is. Should I just play the video and kind of announce it now?
I mean, I would play the video. Play the video. All right.
The time has come. Execute Order 66.
Nothing will stand in our way. I will finish what you started.
welcome, General Kiesel.
Hello.
What's up, buddy?
I will say though, it still hurts a little bit. That whole like kick in the face right at the beginning and the intro and everything too. I think I still feel it a little bit, but that's all right. So
I
happy to be on.
I still
Kinda
think
like-
that is better than everything else.
Sometimes like things leave a mark, like somebody hitting you with an axe handle, and it's staying with you for a couple of months, or a
true.
taser.
I've
Sometimes
heard.
things leave a mark.
But sometimes somebody pays the favor back, and you go through a ring.
Sometimes you just get stuck in weird situations. I understand it.
So Adrian, I think since we have a new person, I think we should leave it up to Brian or General Kiesel to bring our guest on.
We should.
Oh man, working on this. So our special guest for this evening, weighing in at 310 pounds from Atlantic City, New Jersey, he is the human cyborg Ox Hog. Ox Hog, everybody.
Oh yeah, that was pretty good.
That was almost as good as Carolina Jim. How's everybody doing?
Pretty good, man. How are you?
Good, real good.
Good. Remember, guys, whoever is watching, if you guys got any questions for our guest Ox or any of us or all of us, we'll all answer and kind of bullshit our way through all this because it's all a gimmick.
That's what we do, brother.
I mean, hey, what do we know, right?
Yeah. All right. So I guess I'll kind of start it off and we'll get into this. So Ox, where? Oh yeah, I don't have my gimmick name up.
Actually, can I lead off though? I'm a little jealous of the man bun. I'm not gonna lie. I'm just a little jealous of it.
Throw it in. Throw it in.
I got nothing.
I would have mine out, but I have cat hair, so it's all messed up.
I got a shower, so I'm all clean and man bunned up right now.
It looks. I remember when it was just like a little swoop. They kind of had the.
I haven't cut it since March of last year.
Oh wow! Okay. Oh, you gonna go like the full Viking Brock?
I'm gonna get it. That's what I'm gonna get it. It's actually like I have a bald spot on the back of my head. It looks like I have like one of them yarmulkes on, so I got to shave it up past there.
Nice. Nice.
I guess from age, but yeah. So I just
it happens when you're in your 20s.
Get it braided and stuff. Kind of. It's not as. I don't think it's as good looking as Brock's, but it's probably close.
Give it time. Let it get thick, and then let it be luxurious.
I was gonna cut mine off, but my wife was like, "No." So
I was gonna cut mine off a couple of times. My wife said no too. So
genetics says it had to go. So
well, I mean, you can't overrule genetics.
Yeah. All right. So how did Ox Hog get his start in professional wrestling?
1998. I started with the Wild Samoans with Alpha and Sam and Lloyd at the Wild Samoan Training Center. At that time, it just moved from Allentown to Hazleton. So I was one of the first students up there that when it switched over, it was backbreakers before. And a different guy had backbreakers. His name was his real name was Ron Gordick. His work name was Johnny Glitter. And he was an affiliate of Alpha at the time. And Alpha came up and I don't know, something happened. Alpha ended up taking over and he ended up leaving. And so I was thrilled to be able to train under Alpha and Sam. It was started in January 98 and my first match in October of 98. But the Samoa it's a lot different than now. I see some of these wrestling schools now, not all of them, just, obviously not, the Mess Brothers, Rob's, they're still old school about how they go about their trainings and stuff. And I'm sure there's more. I'm not trying to, exclude anybody, but I see some of these guys, how they're trained, and it's just, I'm telling you, they never would have made it. Sam probably would have killed them. Anybody that knows Sam knows, Sam is Sam's a very good friend of mine. Thank God he took a liking to me. Alpha Junior started training around the same time that I did too. We had a real good class, like Tommy Farah, Smooth Tommy Suede. He ended up getting signed to WWE. Jersey Devil, who was, an indie legend, up Jersey, Northeast, Mid Atlantic. But when I got started, I was lucky enough that not only to have Offa, but I had John Rambo, who was trained by Offa, later on, and Rambo was had a school in Mid Atlantic, House of Pain Wrestling Federation. I don't know if Shane, were you ever there? I know your dad. I know you might be a little too young, but your dad. I know your dad was there a couple times, and so was some of his guys, and he was trained by Rocky Johnson, I believe, initially, and then Offa took him in a little bit later on, and he ended up going to the Pacific Northwest and being like a pretty big name up there with Piper, Iron Sheik. He had offers from all three big feds. He had offers from WWE, WCW, ECW, but the school, the House of Pain Wrestle Federation, was run by Dick Karakoff and Neil Superior. Neil Superior passed away suddenly, and John, who was good friends with them, came home, gave up the limelight to train guys and run that. And so because him and Offa were so close, he had free student matches every Tuesday. So me, Dylan Dean, Jersey Devil, we go every Tuesday to Rambo's and get to work, in front of a crowd. Like I said, they were free shows. And I mean, it was like a little ECW arena. It was great. And so, I kind of had the best of both worlds. I had Offa, Sam, Lloyd, all them guys up there. And then I had like real life, kind of like an internship down there on Tuesday nights. So it was real, it was real good. And then if they liked you then on the Tuesday night shows, then they booked the bigger NWL shows over the weekend. So, I got to credit, Rambo too for he gave me my first payday. He gave me my first road show, and I had somewhere to work on Tuesdays, and Offa was good with it. So, it was at the time, I thought this is great because, I was still going to school. I was still going to college in Reading. So I was going from Reading to Hazleton. And then on the weekends, Offa would have a show, and then Rambo would have a show. So, sometimes you were working 3 times a week, and it was real nice. You were getting that real life, experience in front of a crowd, and you were training. So, wrestling was 3-4 days a week at that time. A lot different than it is now.
That's pretty dope.
That's pretty cool.
That's awesome.
That's pretty cool.
Yeah.
Brian?
Oh, me. All right. What was your inspiration? Like, what got you like real invested into it that made you want to go through and get into this crazy world? And that too, like, what was your inspiration for you starting?
I from the time I was young, I always wanted to be a wrestler, but I never knew there was such thing as the independent. Honestly, I never knew there was anything other than WWE and OVW. They're like feeder league. Like I never knew there was such a thing. And I was in Farmore, which was in the Schuylkill Mall. It was an old, it was kind of like a Rite Aid store. And I met Gary Walter, who's the photographer and video guy for K5, the Smart Mark or whatever it's called now. And he told me about, he goes, hey, there's an indie show. I was reading wrestling books. There's an indie show at the Kutztown Fairgrounds. I said, what's an indie show? He goes, oh, kind of like the minor leagues, And I was like, oh, okay. I was like, it's like, who's wrestling there? And he's, rattling off all these guys. And I was like, I have no idea who these guys. So I ended up going, and it was actually the first time I met the Mess brothers. Mark and Troy were, and I'm not going to say this because he's a producer with WWE, but that was the first time I met Steve Carino there. Steve Carino was probably 19 or 20. I was 18, so he maybe 21. And at the time, I was like, wow, like you were so close to the ring, and you could tell like guys were really, it was different than TV. it was, guys were laying it in. There was, you could tell they were laying it in. There was, interaction with the crowd. There was, just a very different feel to it than, when you go to a live show. The only thing with the live show with the big leagues was, you seen these guys that were like, Undertaker or Randy Orton or, at my time were like Bret Hart, Psycho Sid, you know what I mean? Like it just had a different feel, and it was awesome, and I was hooked. But at that time, it was Jimmy Dio ran the school that Mark and Troy run now. And and when I was there asking around, they're like, yeah, you can go, Dio's Dungeon, blah, 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 blah. And I was like, okay. And then just by happenstance, I found the school in Hazleton. And I went for a tryout in '96. You had to try out then. Like even though Alpha wasn't running Hazleton, Alpha was the guiding light over Hazleton. And like you had to pay, I think it was like $250 for a tryout. And I mean, they beat the shit out of you. And then if you didn't make the tryout, then they told you don't come back. I mean, they weren't hurting. They were not hurting for business at any means. So once I got the tryout, then I was balls to the wall doing it. I was always in sports and everything. So, it was like I was absolutely 110% sure I was going to do it.
That's awesome.
That's awesome.
It's crazy. Like you talk about like the independent scene and that too. Like there's so many people you still talk to nowadays. They're like, wait, there's indie shows that like are literally like blocks away from my house. That's insane. And it's like they've been running there for 10 or 15 years and people just don't know about it. It's crazy for us to think that, but like there's such a huge untapped market and fan base. And
absolutely. And the thing was I think Tom Brandy was on that show. I know Bill DeMont, he was Crash the Terminator at the time, and he ended up going on to be, Hugh Morris and all in WCW. But it was one of his last shows, and it was just, like one day I was watching them on, 10 feet away from me, and the next day they were on TV. So I'm thinking to myself, these guys, this is like, and then Carino made his own, pretty much made his own way. You'd see him if you bought the wrestling magazines. Then you started seeing Carino in Maryland and Jersey and all over. And then all of a sudden he's on ECW. You know what I mean? So like he really kind of got the feel like, okay, so if somebody likes what they see there, you might get a look, and I was thinking at the time, being with off, like I know this is going to sound really stupid, and I'm sure a lot of guys say the same thing when they don't get there. But I was never, once I got that I knew what the indies were and I knew that I could wrestle on the weekends and be home and everything, I was never really one, like I would have liked to be on WWE once or twice just to say, hey, I did it. You know what I mean? But I was never really one for traveling. I didn't want to be away from my family. I didn't want to be on the road 300 days a year. I was good doing the indie shows. You know what I mean? And because on the indie shows at that time, you had a lot of guys that were doing ECW and the indie shows. Like when Sam would be home from WWE, like I said, thank God he took a liking to me. And to this day, I consider us, pretty decent friends. It's a like that road life. I don't know if that would be for me. So I was good doing, and once you get started, as you get started, it's just, you make relationships with guys, you see the same guys, every weekend. And, there's, I don't want to sound too old, but I mean, like back in the day, everybody kind of worked together. So everybody could have their hand in the pot, so if somebody ran the first weekend of the month and somebody ran the second weekend of the month and somebody ran the third weekend of the month, somebody ran the fourth weekend of the month, and you were booked all month. And then if you got an extra one here and there, great. You know what I mean? But, I think like with this United thing, I think it's great because it is, four feds that are literally working together to try and make each other better and get guys to work. So I think it's a win-win for everybody, so You know, I think indie wrestling is really underrated because, you know, people think, oh, it's just, you know, and part of it's our own fault because sometimes, you know, like now, as part of the reason why I, you know, hung it up is there's a lot of guys who, you know, you see wrestling and shit from Walmart. You know what I mean? Like they don't have gear. Some feds are booking guys. They don't have gear. They don't have, you know, they don't have, they look
Training.
like, oh, training they're terrible. They don't have the etiquette either. You know what I mean? You walk in, you know, I know one of my last shows, not my last show, but one of my last shows within the last year, I walked in the locker room, I'm not going to say where, and there's these new guys, and you tell they were greener than grass, and they're, you know, they're sitting there tying their shoes, and people are walking around, you know, they're shaking their hands. You know, you walk over, and say, hey, you know, how are you? Shake your hands, and they look at you like you're some kind of superstar. I remember saying to somebody, I was like, I'm gonna smash the shit out of them too before I leave here. You know? And you know, it's just, I think wrestling, whether no matter what level or what stage you're on or whatever it is, I think it's super important to know the history and know the etiquette and use it. And if guys ain't using it and they're not familiar with things, you either teach them or you don't book them to live. You know what I mean? That's it.
Absolutely. Like, have you had matches with guys to where you know they're new, you know they don't have it. They're not all together there. They're just kind of booked on from a like, oh, it's my friend's cousin who's you know trying to do it.
Yeah, I mean, yeah, and I think as I got older, and I matured a little bit because I don't really consider myself mature now either, but I think it's a little bit, you know,
When do
more.
we ever mature?
I don't think we ever do. I mean, I haven't in a couple of years, but I mean, for 20 some years, I ran around in my underwear playing, playing fight with somebody, you know, in front of people with choking. I mean, I don't think there's really much, you know what I mean? That was my fun. I didn't go golfing,
Right.
but I mean, I think, I think one of the things with guys is, you know, like you work with what you got in there, and I think that's part of being a professional. You got to know what you're dealing with, and if you know the stuff of I got to get my shit in, like that to me is like that's just not how I was brought up. If somebody's not comfortable doing something, you don't do it. That's it. End of story. And as a professional, you should be able to go on the fly. You should be able to go. You know, you should be able to adapt to that. But I think when it's over, I think there's a period where you need to have a talk with this person and say, listen, you either go train and and you know, to somebody reputable, you go to Rob, you go to the Mets brothers, you go to, you know, Alpha Junior, you go to whoever, and you get that done, or you're not going to be back in. Like, I would make it a point not to get the guy booked, but I think, you know, like I said, it's your job to make them look good, just like it's their job to make you look good.
Mm-hmm.
But if they're not trained and stuff, the promoter should know. I mean, I know back in the day, and again, I hate saying that, but like they would ask you who trained you. They would say to you, "Where are you coming from?" I'd be like, "I was trained by, you know, blah 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 blah." Like you got to have a resume sometimes, you know.
Right.
They would call. They would, you know, like at the time there was no Facebook or anything. Email was kind of like a brand new thing, you know. Phones were, hey, you know, and it'd be like just like, hey, so and so, did he train with Offa? Yeah, okay. Well, a good thing. I used to keep my certificate, a copy of my certificate, in my bag with me because my training certificate when I graduated from the Samoan school, I would keep a copy of it in my bag, and I would say, you know, here, and I would go to the promoter and I'd be like, here you go, you know, just so you know, I'm totally, you know, trained. I'm not, you know, I'm green as grass, but I'm trained, you know, whatever, blah, blah, blah. Here you go. You know, and that went a real long way. But now, you know, if I was running a show and I was booking a show, I know I could take anyone. I'm not saying it's just because, you know, we're tight, whatever, but I could take anybody that Rob trained, that Troy trained, Alpha Junior trained, and a couple other who I can't think off the top of my head. And I'd say, okay, without even seeing them, I'd put them on the show because I know where they came from. I know what they went through. and I know they're not going to be garbage. And don't get me wrong, I've had garbage matches, probably more so than the good ones I had in over 20 years. But the thing is when you're, I think that's really important to, like, for promoters to make things maybe a little bit better than they are, to start doing some of them things again. You know what I mean? Like, where did you train? How long did you train? Did you graduate? Are you, whatever? And now through social media and internet and cell phones and all the technology we have, it's nothing to get in touch with somebody and say, hey, is this guy, whatever, And I know it's a lot of work, but
Yeah.
I mean, it's only going to improve the quality of the show,
Exactly. I've talked to a couple of promoters on shows that I've been on, and just sitting back and watching matches, and went to the promoter themselves, like, look, where is this guy from? Because this is not making any sense. A lot of this stuff, it looks dangerous. It doesn't look safe, and I want people, whenever I wrestle, the same way you came in the building is the same way I want you to leave. Like,
absolutely. None of us are making millions of dollars doing this, and you got a job to go to, most likely the next day. You got a family you got to take care of. I mean, some people go golf on the weekend. We beat the shit out of each other. You know what I mean? So the thing is, you got to be, And I remember I talked to Shane Douglas one time at one of Tate's shows, and I absolutely loved Tate's shows. Were some of my favorite shows ever at ACW. They were and I remember talking to Shane Douglas out behind the building, and we were talking about laying it in and working tight and everything, and we talk about the safety behind knowing the difference between where you can work tight and where you can't work tight. There's certain parts of the body that can absorb impact a lot better, and it makes for a better product. Obviously, you don't want to punch somebody as hard as you can in the nose. You know what I mean? But like you gotta be able to work a couple different styles, and you got to be able to get that, make the people who are not, maybe new fans, maybe they're come with somebody else. You got to make them want to come back. And if you make it look like like I said, everybody knows what wrestling is these days, but you make it look, you got to make them forget what they know what it is, like a movie. You want to make them forget what the movie is. You know what I mean? You want them to make, for them, 2 or 3 hours. You want them to forget about their nonsense that happened during the week, their boss, their kids, their wife, or their husband, or whoever. And give them something. The last thing they want to be is like, that guy didn't make. Well, he missed them by 3 feet. And that all comes from the training. The training is. I think the training, when it comes to the training and the look, I think I got by 20 years on a half decent look. I have probably 5 moves I do. You know what I mean?
Right.
But your training, for example, I was at a show and I was helping somebody out. You guys from New York were on the show, and first thing I seen, they were working. 2 guys were working each other out in the crowd before the show, going over their match, locking up and doing all kind of crazy shit. And I walked over to them. I said, are you guys working each other? They're like, yeah. I go, could you take it in the back? You know what I mean? I'm like, I was like mortified. I'm like, oh my God, what the is going on?
Right.
You know what I mean? Here they are going to work each other in front of them. And they're going over their match literally 2 feet from the crowd. And I was like, oh my God. And then the first match, it was literally 30 seconds into the match. The first move this guy did was a superplex. And I went to them. I'm like, who trained these guys? And they told me, and I was shocked because the dude who trained them is a good dude, not from PA. And I was like, man, you can't bring them back. You can't bring them back. I like, you can bring them back, dude. I'm not gonna hang out because I don't want my name around. Right. And it took a little while, but they ended up migrating back to where they belong, I guess. But yeah, dude, I think that the training is, training in the look is. I mean, you could get, you could. I hate to say it, but I mean, you can't fake it till you make it here.
Mm-mm.
You know what I mean? You could tell, like, which I haven't wrestled in 5 years. Now I'm going to wrestle. I'm going to wrestle somebody who I wrestled a million times, love him to death, have all the, whatever. But if I go in there with him or he goes in there with me and says, hey, listen, let's do this. I don't kind of feel comfortable with this. There should be no argument. There's no argument ever. You're leaving. As far as I'm concerned, when I'm in there with you, I'm going to let you feel it. But I'm not going to hurt you. And as far as I know, in over 20 years, I never injured anybody. I might have hurt somebody, gave them a black eye. Some people say that I have a stiff right hand. I don't. That's shame.
They're just stupid.
But I mean, I might have hurt you a little bit, but I never injured anybody. As far as I know, I never injured anybody, and I feel I'm I'm very physical in there. So I think that's a big part. You got to be physical.
Yeah.
You got to be physical.
Yeah. It would look weird being somebody your size and you're soft. I've locked up with guys who like were big like you, and then it's just like and I'm like, oh okay, no, you're joking. Like we got a match going on here, and it's like you're playing pity pat with me. That looks it looks dumb. So I got to go harder on them to make them go harder on me, and it's like we're two big dudes. We should not be. It should not look like we're ballet. You know what I mean?
I agree. Absolutely, 100%.
The best thing to do when you are ever in the ring with Ox is do what I did. We were in a battle royal together at the Hamburg Fieldhouse, and I just kept low-blowing him.
Oh shit!
So you ran the entire time? Is what you're saying?
No, so every time, like, I think it was him and my dad.
It was me and your dad. We had you. We had you.
And I just kept dropping and low blowing him.
It was nonstop through the whole thing, and I couldn't stop laughing. And I said, me and Rob like kind of paired off in the corner a little bit. Like we were going around like this tattooing everybody, and then we got in the corner. I go, "Fucking Shane, man." He goes, "I know."
He didn't have a taser available, is what it was.
Dude, he was fucking Shane. I said, "Dude, what's wrong with him?" He goes, "I don't know." He goes, We're done. Let's get out of here. And then like we both eliminate each other. You know what I mean?
You know what the hell with this? That was his plan all along. He's like, I'll just make them eliminate themselves.
Yeah.
It was great. I think one of the – I don't know if you Brian or Adrian know about this match, but have you guys ever heard about the match in Shenandoah with Rob, Petey, Ox, and I think it was Tommy Golden with you, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Tommy was the only one who didn't give.
Everywhere.
Oh yeah, they don't have wrestling there no more. They had me and Rob had to mop the parking lot, and that is no lie. We had to mop the parking lot. They were that mad. All the guy, and God bless Chris Layton and his wife Maggie. They ran great shows in Shendo. And me and Rob ruined it 100% on them. I said to him, I said, hey, you care if you don't, and this was before, bleeding was a no-no, and I said, you care if we get a little color tonight, no, but nothing crazy, and I was like, okay, and and so me and Rob were all like, we're all about it, so I said to him, we're going to bleed. He goes, yeah, we are. I said, okay. So, as luck would have it, I guess I hit a vein when I did it, and it was spraying out of my head. There was blood. There was puddles on the floor. Rob's bleeding almost as heavy as I am, right? And they were so mad. The guy was yelling. The guy who was running it, and like I said, I think we took 5 years off Voltage's life that day. We're supposed to have our spaghetti dinner here tomorrow, and he kept yelling. And I was like, that was me and Rob single-handedly ruined it on him. And if Chris is watching, he said he's coming. He's coming to this show September 9th. It'd be great to see him. I apologize to every year it comes up on my memories. I send him a message and I apologize to them because
He's like, I could never have my spaghetti dinner. Thanks a lot, Ox.
They had intermission to clean up the blood, and me and Rob, who just beat the shit out of each other, were out in the parking lot with a mop. They made us mop up the blood out in the parking lot.
Holy shit!
So it was. Oh God, it was bad.
This was before I even started wrestling. I think
It was bad.
it was crazy.
We all laugh about it now, but they didn't laugh about it then. They were very happy with us.
Yeah, it was definitely.
I always say though, because they didn't run any more shows. I said they would have doubled their tickets the next show, but they didn't run no more. So who's to say I'm wrong? You know what I'm saying?
Rob just commented and said it was 100% true.
Well, there's some people.
He's probably like, Rob's probably like, oh yeah, there's still blood like in my bag from that day.
We laugh about it all the time, and you know, the funny thing is that, you know, after how it happened is me and Rob went outside to we were fighting. We fought to the outside, like outside. And we came back in. Both of us were bleeding. And when we came back in, Chris looks at me and he goes, "Oh no!" Like that. And I go, "We're fucked," you know. And it's like it's too late now, you know. So we were just, you know, and I know they just wanted us to take it home, and we just kept going. And oh my God, it was, you know, it was so much, you know. Now it's funny, but it was funny then too. But it was funny to me. But I guess, you know, I felt horrible. You know?
Shango versus Ox, book it.
You know? But you know, this is what it is. Shit happens.
Yeah, shit does happen. Fuck it. So, what's your like favorite road trip memory you have?
I don't think that's going to be legal. I think he's going to have to go testify somewhere if he says it.
You don't got to name names.
Yeah, he's like, I don't want to go back to jail again.
honestly, like I think, you know, when I started, I really wasn't into the whole road thing. You know, like I think I was too worried about, you know, I thought I was, you know, I thought the first time I went on the road, like I said, I thought I was Joe Cool. I was, you know, they put us up in a Super 8 hotel, which, you know, is like our version of like Motel 6 or something like that around here. And there was guaranteed bed bugs from, you know, the top of the room to the bottom of the room, you know, and it, you know, like I just thought it was great, you know, because I was like, I'm on the road, I'm doing what I love, you know, I don't give a shit where I'm staying, you know. Right. And like, you know, the first time I went on the road, you know, the first time I went on the road, I remember Dylan Dean, and Dylan, he's another one I have to give a lot of credit to, you know, Francis Scarcella, because he took good care of me when I started. He got me, you know, he took a liking to me, and he got me bookings. He managed me. He took care of me. Yeah, he's a great guy. And I don't know, you know, I don't think, you know, like, I don't think a lot of what I had when I went, if I didn't have him in the beginning, I would have had. And so they take me out to this nightclub, and I'm just 21, and this big nightclub in, I want to say it was Virginia or West Virginia or somewhere. I don't even know, or it might even been Maryland. I don't know. The show was in West Virginia, and I was living at the time in Reading, but you know, at the time, like, you know, things, even though, you know, like Reading was pretty, you know, like Reading wasn't like Reading is now. Reading was like kind of like nice, and like the outskirts of Reading are nice, but like Reading itself was kind of still nice. They had a lot of outlets everywhere, shopping, stuff like that. You know, it was, you know, so I wasn't kind of like, I really wasn't seasoned to, you know, the world, you know. So they take me to this club, and you know, it was big, and you know, I'm in there, I got a beer, and you know, I'm tired. I've been up since whatever, but like my adrenaline was just, it was great. Like I was like, this is wonderful, you know. And here, I start looking around, and I'm like, what the fuck is going on here? I see two dudes dancing with each other on a water fountain, and I'm like, what the fuck is, I said to Dylan, I go, what the fuck kind of place is this? It's a nightclub. I go, I know it's a nightclub. I said, there's 2 dudes dancing over there. He goes, yes. He goes, so what? I go, all right. And then I look over, there's like these huge like fountain things. And, 2 more dudes are dancing over there. And I'm like, dude, did you bring me to a gay club? He's like, no. And, Dylan loved ribbon people. So you never knew. And it wasn't, but it wasn't, but it was just like this, like, it was like really like this wacky, I don't know what the fuck, but I just wasn't as seasoned as I thought I was. I was 21 years old and I'm like, dude, these guys are dancing with each other. There's chicks dancing with each other. I don't see no intermingling with anybody. I said, I'm going back to the hotel. He's like, no, fuck you are. So like, after it was 2:00 in the morning, I was allowed to go back to the hotel. And then, I went to I fell asleep for literally 20 minutes. I was exhausted and like, banging on my door and stuff like that. And I was like, oh my God. I went out, and they're like, come on, we're going down to the bar at the hotel bar. They're going to leave it open for us. I go, dude, it's a Super 8. They don't have a hotel bar. He goes, oh, no, we got beer down there. We're going to drink outside. That's the bar. I said, dude, I'm going to bed. And he's like, you're not going to bed. And, back and forth we went, and I ended up going to bed. So that was my first road story. There was 9 million other ones. I mean, I guess some of the best ones we had were, me and Tommy, when we were tagging, we had some good, we had some real good times, like just stupid shit, like it's, it wasn't like, I never really, like, I always thought to myself, as much fun as I was having and as much as I was doing, I never wanted to embarrass my trainer. And I always thought to myself, every time I go into the ring, I never wanted to embarrass Alpha. I never wanted to embarrass Rambo. I never wanted to embarrass Sam. I really never wanted to embarrass Sam because I knew it was going to happen if I did, And, once you start going places over time, and I mean, you guys know, you've been around for a little bit. Everybody knows who trained you. Mm-hmm. So I never wanted them going back saying, even when I was doing it up to my last match, I never wanted anybody to ever say to Sam or to Alpha or to, Alpha's in Florida. I doubt you probably know, or to Lloyd or any of them guys that trained me. I never wanted them to say, hey, I seen Ox out doing this, that, the other thing, Now, don't get me wrong. I would get pie-eyed drunk and act stupid, but I never did anything harmful or to hurt anybody or to do, you know what I mean? Or get arrested or anything like that, like I never took it to that level, So I think that's, something really that is very important. Your trainer is putting their name on you from the time you go till the time you're done. So I think it's really important that you, like I said, have your fun, live your shit. I would be a hypocrite if I would tell you not, because anybody who was at shows with me or after shows with me knows I love to act up. But I think in the long run, when you take it too far, you embarrass yourself, you embarrass the guy who promoted you, who put you on the show, and you embarrass your trainer.
Yeah, and like you said too, so there's a lot of people that know, and if you have a good match in that too, they're just as quick to go back to that person like, hey, I saw your boy working in this show, and you'd be proud kind of thing. So it's nice having that feedback, especially when you go back and go back to train at Rob's, and he's like, hey, somebody saw you at a show, and this is what they had to say about you. First thing I think of is like, oh man, I messed up, and that. But then it's like good feedback and everything too. It's nice to have that because but a lot of those guys, like the guys you name in that too, they're going to be the first ones to tell you if it was good, bad, or ugly. They don't care they're not going to sugarcoat it. They're not going to be like, oh, dude, great match, and then go up to Ox and be like, oh, dude, that guy's the drizzling shits. He sucks. Kind of thing. They're going to tell you flat out, and that too. Same thing with Mark Mess, Rob, anybody you go to, and that they're gonna really go through and tell you how it is. So, but for all good reasons, because
I think you're absolutely correct, and I think, like I said, like you got to kind of think like WWE or whatever, like the big, even the big guys, the big show, like. They could go on there and put on a match that's 5-star. But if they go out afterwards and get drunk at a club and get in a fight or rape somebody or do something crazy, that's all over. That's going to be what's on the news. It's not going to be, oh, so and so had a 5-star match. No, it's going to be so and so, got fucked up and went and did whatever, And I think too, I never wanted to be put in that position where I had to explain. If I had to explain myself, I wanted to be for something good. I didn't want to have to be for something that, like, look, man, I'm embarrassed, and I still carry that with me to today. I think that's very important. When I talked to Sam, when I, agreed, when I said I was going to do this match and stuff, I said, I haven't wrestled in 5 years, what, do you have any advice for me, whatever, and I talked to him. And even after all this time, I talked to Rambo. I talked to these guys after all this time because I think, you never forget where you come from and you always forget who buttered your bread. You never forget who buttered your bread, So I think it's really important that relationship between trainer and student stays for the entire time that you're in the business. Whether or not you keep contact or not, you just don't want to. You want to make them. You never want to make them look bad.
Well, then it's always the checking in with them and that too, because you never want to have that like, oh man, I should have sent them a text. It takes you seconds to send a text, shoot a phone call real quick, and that too. So.
And I'm not saying like having a bad match. Like I said, everybody has bad matches. Like, you know what I mean? Like there's no way around it. You could have a 5-star match that the boys think is great and the crowd shits all over. You know what I mean? Like there's no, I think integrity and your, what it is that you're doing, maybe outside of wrestling with it. I think, Offa used to make me show when I started wrestling. Offa used to make me bring him my report card when I was in college, my transcripts and my grades when I was in college, because he told me if my grades weren't up to, if I wasn't doing decent enough with what my father or my mother thought was good with school, which was anything, like he basically told me anything less than a C, that, my training was going to be like, he wanted me to get my degree and get my, like he wasn't just like, hey, give me your money, I'm going to train you and go. He made like, if my grades started slipping, I couldn't come back until I got brought back up. So it made me want to, do good when I was, it actually made me want to, if I wanted to have this, I had to do that. And like I said, that's the relationship with the trainers. And I think that today is, and I'm just, like I said, I'm sure there's more. I'm not just saying it because I'm tight with them, but that's where I think the Mess brothers and Rob and stuff keep it like a kind of a family thing. Mm-hmm. I know when Tate was training, he was, he had a good relationship with his guys. I think it's really important to have that. I think it's something. It's almost like having another father figure. So I think it's it's something that I think too many guys are, like you said before, we will put so and so on and so and so's cousin and everything else, and I don't think that's right.
No.
My opinion.
I know. Go ahead.
No, go ahead.
I know from my experience with like when I first started to where I was at, that it was very night and day. The guy I first started with, they didn't care about anything that I was doing outside of training. They just, long as I was there, I was a body, they could, show me what they wanted to show me to get through a match. But when I got with Rob, it was a completely different it was a different world, because he actually cared about everything that I was doing. He wanted me to be successful, not just in wrestling but outside of wrestling. If I fucked up, he would come to me and be like, yo, you fucked up. And that whole thing you were saying about wanting to make somebody proud, like that was always my goal when I stepped into the ring. Like in any company that I wrestled for, like I know he's gonna watch this, I know he's gonna see this, I know somebody's going to get back to him and say something like, oh, your boy was doing shitty, or your boy was sitting there doing something dumb. And I was always afraid that, like, I never, ever wanted to embarrass him at all. Like, that was always my biggest fear, embarrassing him, embarrassing the guys that I went to school, that I trained with. Like, I was representative of the school that I was coming out of. And, that's always been a thing for me. And, like, I was, like, happy to hear you say that, because not a lot of people touch on that.
That's the old school mentality. I mean, bottom line, that's the old school mentality. And Rob is probably the closest thing to Alpha and them guys that I've seen and through all the trainers I've seen, because it's like a family with him, and and like it's like and same with Troy and Mark and Troy and them. It's a family thing, and it's more than wrestling, and it's life too.
Definitely. So we got like 9 minutes left. How about we talk about the show on the 9th? Ox.
What do you want to talk about, Shay? Why I'm wrestling your dad and not you?
You sensed a little bit of the salty in there,
I can taste it.
Eventually, before you hang it up for good, I'll get my match. Eventually.
You're gonna have to wait in line, because I've never got an opportunity to wrestle him, and when I'm healthy and back, So.
But I knew Ox longer, so like I would have to go first.
I don't know why you.
I'm older,
listen, I don't know why you guys want to worry so. But listen, I don't run. Running is not in my vocabulary. You know what I mean? So I'm not running. Shane, I'm not running for you or for anybody. But
so it's a triple threat, is what I'm hearing. It's like a triple threat.
I mean, it could be. I could come out in the last 2 minutes if you guys want. You guys.
Hey, you know what though? I'm good at it. I can just play the music and I'll ring announce. I got this.
Oh,
got it. I'm on it. I'm on it.
Honestly, I am looking so forward to this, and like Shane knows, because Shane, and Shane and Rob, and Rob's Rob and Shane and the whole family's family to me, as they are to a lot of people. My father calls Rob his third son. My dad loves Rob. Rob loves my dad. And, me and Rob are going to work on a different show, and got canceled. And so we talked about working and stuff, and I was hesitant because honestly, when I left. I didn't know I was going to leave. I knew it was going to be soon, but I left on Rob's, one of my best friends in a steel cage on his biggest show of the year. And to me, that was it, that was like, once I sat down and thought about it, and I knew how I felt, years of sports and weightlifting and wrestling and everything, I didn't really feel, and I was, taking longer to recover, and I think overall, like what's the word I'm looking for? Like, I think overall, seeing all the guys in the Walmart gear and stuff like that was really like, it was really, yeah. It just like made me want to, like, back then it made me want to, I was just like, what am I doing? Like, there's 6 or 8 good guys on the show, and then the rest is just. Like, even if you can't work, like you're wearing cargo shorts. You're not John Cena, you know what I mean? You're wearing Nike sneakers to work out, to wrestling, and I'm not talking covered in kick pads. I'm talking like you're going to work play basketball, But and two, my family. I missed a lot over the years. I mean, I know everybody knows I work in a prison, so I work overtime. So trying to find the time for work, gym, and then wrestling on the weekend, like after a while, it just got to the point where there was more negative I was feeling towards it than positive. And I had such a good positive experience with Rob at his show back in 2018. And it was like one of my best friends in wrestling. And, I just said, I think I'm done. And, I talked to my wife, and my wife is very supportive of it. Of course, it was nice, after a weekend or two to sit around and, just do normal stuff. Like, and then for a while I didn't even follow it. And then, I always kept in contact, I kept in contact with some of the guys, and Rob probably more than anybody. And I thought to myself, I was going to do this other show because it was a benefit show for Rambo, and it got canceled. And and Rob can be very persuasive. I got to give it to him. And then, we kind of talked. I think we could tell a pretty good story. I think there's a good story going to come of this. I think it's going to be something that people will invest in. And I think it's something that everybody's going to, I hope everybody enjoys, So I think, I don't know how long this is going to be for. I don't know what it's going to be for, but I can tell you this much. I will definitely be on the 9th. I will definitely be at Black Friday, and we'll see what else happens from that, But I think this is going to be, Shane, me and your dad, we wrestled each other a lot. We know each other a long time, and I think our thing was always good friends, better enemies, So I think we can. I think we could do something special to, for this thing.
So what you're saying is Ping versus Oxhog Black Friday?
I'm saying that I think once we sit down and I think we can make something. I think we can make something where there's a bunch of people involved, and I think that we can make it a nice. I think we could make it a special thing. If it works out the way I think it could work out, I think it could be very special, and it could have a bunch of different olive branches that things could break off to, when we rub our heads together. And I think that, like I said, I think we can I think it's going to be something that is going to be, if nothing else, it's going to be special for us. I can tell you that much.
So what he means by that, guys, is a low blow battle royal.
Yes, that's what I heard.
You are never going to low blow me again.
That's great.
That was like enough for 20 years low blow.
Yeah.
At least he didn't tase you. That's all I'm saying.
He ain't, no tasing here.
Yeah, it was a shocking experience.
No.
Oh, that's great. Well, thank you, Ox, for coming on. It was definitely fun.
Well, thank you for having me. I love you guys, and I all the respect in the world for you. I look forward to seeing you on the 9th. So be ready, man. I'm going to be breaking balls as soon as I get there. So have your best material ready.
Hell yeah.
He's just to throw everybody else. He's going to show up and like a wife beater and jean shorts and some Nikes. Just
basketball shorts. Basketball shorts.
Oh, basketball shorts.
I just got
More mobile.
I think I'm going to just wrestle in my boots. That's it.
Yeah,
Hell
go ahead.
All right.
You know what I mean?
Yeah, that works. That works. Everybody's doing it.
Be fun. I figured,
Everybody's doing it.
But,
Boots and a towel. Start with a towel.
I think too. Before I get off here, I think too we're trying to plan like an after party thing. It's not like some crazy bar or something, maybe like a bar restaurant or something. Everybody go hang out, get a little camaraderie in there. Maybe get some guys if you can, or whatever. Have something to eat or something like that. Have a drink or two. And nothing crazy, but I think,
not to take him to a bar where there's a bunch of dudes dancing.
No.
Yeah.
Stallions is open out here.
I told you I work in prison. I see that shit every day.
Oh, no, fair enough. He's like, I see that in my shoot job. I don't know. I need to see it anywhere else.
Right, I just want to sit down and have some grub, maybe some beer, some laughs with the boys. It's been a while.
Hell yeah. Well, again,
appreciate you coming on and sharing those stories. Yeah.
Yeah.
All right, guys. Thanks for having me. I appreciate it. I'll see you soon.
Yeah,
all right, guys.
Yes, sir.
All right, man. Peace. All right, guys. Later.
Live Saturday, September 9th. Classic Championship Wrestling, Valor Pro Wrestling, Seven Mountains Wrestling, and Pennsylvania Championship Wrestling Alliance United presents Battle at the Bridge at the old Bishop McDivitt High School, 2200 Market Street, Harrisburg, Pennsylvania. The special guest, Enzo, Marty Skrull, Flipcord. Front row is already completely sold out. Second row is $20. General admission just $10. Meet and greet is at 5 p.m. Bell time is 6 p.m. For tickets, 717-379-4599. or 570-933-0370. You can also pick them up at the bridge at 2200 Market Street, Harrisburg, Pennsylvania. You don't want to miss the hottest territory in Pennsylvania. United!